Gamemanship has been thrown out the window. College football, Oklahoma fans, Texas fans, they're all buzzing right now after the latest availability report for the Oklahoma Sooners was released, upgrading John Mateer from questionable to probable. Now, the real question is, though, what does this mean for the Oklahoma Sooners going into the Red River rivalry? Does this mean for certain that John Mateer is going to play? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. And then towards the end of the video, we're going to quickly break down the OU Texas game, and I'm going to give you my predictions. But I want to hear from y'all. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think John Mateer is going to play, or what do you like to call the Red River rivalry? Do you like to call it the Red River rivalry? Do you want to call it the Red River shootout? Do you call it OU Texas? I want to hear from y'all. If you're new to the channel, hit that like, hit the subscribe button. Later tonight, we're going to be putting out a recruiting video. You're not going to want to miss any of that. And we cover a lot of recruiting content on this channel. So you're going to want to make sure you are plugged in so that you can be brought up to speed with everything going on. But the latest availability report for the Oklahoma Sooners, it's definitely had the Twitter buzzing over who is potentially been upgraded for the Oklahoma Sooners. And John Mateer had the wrong one up. John Mateer has been upgraded from questionable to probable. You still have Keontae Lewis in the questionable section. Logan Howland still listed as doubtful. And then obviously Cade McKinstry, Troy Everett, Jacob Sexton, Jake Taylor, all listed out. I don't think that's going to be any surprise to any Oklahoma fans that those the guys that are listed as out. For Texas, CJ Baxter still listed as doubtful. Malik Muhammad, Parker Livingston, still listed as probable. I'm still a little shocked that Trey Wisner was not on this list for Texas. So I guess that means he's going to be fully ready to go, but we'll talk about that towards the end because I think that could have some pretty big implications for this game. But John Mateer being upgraded, what does this mean for the Oklahoma Sooners? And if you're an Oklahoma fan, although it appears that John Mateer is going to play in the game, if you have followed Pete Thamel or Brett McMurphy on the Twitters, any of the national guys, they're pretty much trying to sell you the idea that John Mateer is going to be the starter for Oklahoma. But as an Oklahoma fan, maybe you have a little bit of reservations because, well, maybe it just feels too good to be true. Because Vegas still has the line at Texas -1.5. This line's been going back and forth, guys. I don't think Vegas really knows who is going to win this game and what's going to happen. But what does this mean for Oklahoma if John Mateer actually plays? John Mateer plays, as we've discussed for the past week. This gives you the best opportunity to win this game. Here's what I think is going to happen, though. I think there's still a little bit of gamemanship being played here. Yes, Brent Venables is telling you that John Mateer is probably going to play in the game. But I guarantee you he's going to be a game time decision. And there still could be a world where you have to throw Michael Hawkins out there versus Arch Manning in that Texas team. And if that's a possibility, you might be shifting Texas's narrative to preparing more for John Mateer in the final days leading up to the game. Now, of course, Texas is professional. They're probably going to prepare for both quarterbacks. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, I still think you're itching to just see John Mateer walk out on the field and take the snaps. That's when you're actually going to believe it. But this is obviously great news because this tells you that John Mateer is close to returning. So even if he doesn't play this week, this makes me feel better knowing that John Mateer will probably and most likely be available for South Carolina. And obviously, the Oklahoma staff wants to hide something because according to George Stoya and Eddie Radosevich, who have been on the case all week, the Oklahoma Sooners have been practicing in the Everest Center. They've been trying to practice indoors, keeping everybody's eyes away from everything. And I will tell you this. We've seen a lot of leaks about John Mateer getting ready, how they think he's close. You don't think the Oklahoma football staff is putting out what they want you to hear, what they want you to know? So maybe we see John Mateer on Saturday. Maybe we don't. We'll have to believe it when we see it. But it's definitely exciting news to see him listed as probable. Because whether it impacts this game, I think it definitely impacts the South Carolina game, basically telling you John Mateer is going to be probably a full go for then. Now, if John Mateer plays in this game, not only do I think it gives Oklahoma the best odds to win, but I also think it recatapults John Mateer back up into probably one of the top 3 in the Heisman race. It does that much for John Mateer. So, really big game. We'll see what's going to happen on Saturday. But this injury report is definitely intriguing and kind of going into a OU Texas preview. Looking at the injury report for Texas, getting Malik Muhammad back for the Texas Longhorns is huge because that cornerback room has been a huge question mark. The DBs for Texas, I mean, you've had the true freshman that's went out there and played really well, but Malik Muhammad's kind of been the staple back there. So for Texas fans to be able to get him back in a game like this against Oklahoma's wide receivers who are practically, it feels like, although Keontae Lewis is questionable, I feel like Keontae Lewis is going to play. It feels like Oklahoma's wide receiver room is going to come in fully healthy. And you are going to need everybody and all hands on deck. You don't want to come in short-staffed. You don't want to have these injuries in the game that cause you to have to put out a Kobe Black who completely just got demolished in that game against Florida. By the way, a former guy that Oklahoma recruited. And additionally, Trey Wisner, not on the list for Texas. This is intriguing to me because is Trey Wisner actually healthy enough to play in this game? Or is Texas playing a little bit of gamemanship themselves by not listing Trey Wisner on the availability report and then Trey Wisner not being a go for the game? I think that's a possibility. CJ Baxter obviously hasn't been healthy all year, hasn't been able to see the field. And even if Trey Wisner is healthy or healthy enough, let's just say it that way, to go out there and play, he has to go up against one of the best, if not the best defensive line in the country. You don't think that's going to take a wear and tear on his body where he's already had some tear? I think the Texas running back room, being as depleted as it is going to be harmful to Texas's chances to go out there and win this game. They're going to need some that Michael Jordan juice back from the Space Jam movie. Yeah, to be able to go out there and get that running back room right for Oklahoma. But this is where I think it comes in for Oklahoma and their keys to be able to win the game. Offensively, Texas and Oklahoma, they're about the same. I think Texas is like 51 in the rankings. Oklahoma is 54. Very similar in yardage per game. I think Texas is averaging 419.2. Oklahoma is averaging 415.2. Oklahoma's averaging 5.9 yards per play. Texas averaging 6.16. So not too much of a gap there. They both have the same amount of offensive touchdowns at 19. But the defense is where I think Oklahoma stands out. It has the potential best chance to go out there and win. Oklahoma's defense is number 1 in the entire country, allowing only 193 yards per game, only allowing 3 opponent touchdowns and 3.5 yards per play. Texas, on the other hand, is the number 13th defense in the entire country, allowing 7 opponent touchdowns, 4.32 yards per play, and allowing 260 yards a game. And I think this is going to be the best offense that Texas is going to have played all season because obviously Ohio State didn't feel like they were fully prepared and ready for that game. It felt like they were still shaking off a little bit of rust. Texas plays Ohio State today. That's probably a 3-score win for Ohio State. And so I think the defense is where Oklahoma gets the advantage here. And this is where it wins them the game. Because that defensive front for Oklahoma and that defensive line is going to absolutely shred the Texas offensive line, where what's going on with Texas's offensive line feels like what happened to Oklahoma last year and the previous years, where you couldn't get guys healthy. You had a bunch of youth in that room, and you just couldn't put it together. You just couldn't get it gelling. And part of the worst part of Texas's offensive line, which is the inside, where you have a guy like Devon Campbell, who is a guy that Oklahoma went out there and recruited, it's just not good. And the interior defensive line for Oklahoma, you can argue, is the strength with a Dominic Williams, a Jaden Jackson, a David Stone, a Grayson Halton. All of those guys at this point feels like are household staple names. And we're not even talking about your edge rushers, where you're going to have a Marvin Jones Jr., you're going to have an R. Mason Thomas, a PJ Adebayor, a Taylor Wine, and then the linebackers, which can come in and fill any potential holes that the defensive line might miss. It feels like this defense for Oklahoma can go out there, get a bunch of pressure on Arch, which I'm actually thinking they're probably going to get about 6+ sacks in this game. I think they can create some turnovers. I think they can get Arch rattled. And definitely, if you throw out a combination of Eli Bowen and Gentry Williams, along with a little bit of Cortland Guillory in there, because Eli Bowen is back, and we saw what he was able to do last year, I think it's going to be pretty hard for Arch to be able to just throw wherever he wants on the Oklahoma secondary, which has already been good this year. And getting Eli Bowen back just puts them a little bit more over the top. With this being the healthiest that Oklahoma has been against Texas in the past couple of years, that's a massive advantage, because the past couple of times Oklahoma has lost to Texas, Oklahoma didn't stand a fighting chance going into that game. And so I look at this game and I look at what Oklahoma has done all season to every single one of their opponents, suffocating them on defense, and understanding that Texas is going to have to run the ball, and they're going to have to get Arch going. And he's definitely not as good of a runner as Jackson Arnold. And look at what Oklahoma did to him. I think Oklahoma wins this game 27-16. I do think that if John Mateer plays, or even Michael Hawkins, you get that faithful turnover on offense that you just can pretty much at this point count on with the Sooners. But with every great quarterback, you get turnovers. That's just how it is. You don't want a quarterback that is so safe with the ball that they don't take chances. You don't want a quarterback that takes so many chances that they turn the ball over a ton. You want to find that sweet spot. And obviously, you would like to just never have a turnover, but that's sometimes just not reality. I do think Texas gets a turnover. They'll get it in short field, and they'll either get a touchdown or a field goal, just probably like everybody else has all year. I do think there will be another couple times where Texas can maybe get in short yardage situations and get a couple field goals. That's why I got them at 16. But Oklahoma at 27, shoot, they might even get a little bit more. But I'm kind of erring on the side that, hey, if John Mateer doesn't play, I think Michael Hawkins can get you to at least 20. And I think the defense can get you a defensive score as well. So I want to hear from y'all. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about the news of John Mateer being upgraded from questionable to probable. And then additionally, let me know what your guys' thoughts are about the game. Drop your score predictions in the comments below. And we will see you all later tonight talking about some Oklahoma football recruiting.